Okay. We'll call this tax roll meeting to order. All members are present. Notice that the meeting was properly posted on April 11th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of March 10th?
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, complaints, erroneous assessment, and petition for correction.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item number 3, assessor certificate of clinical error import.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Number 4, assessor certificate of clinical error import and certificate of assessment.
Motion to approve.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any participation? Seeing none, or any board comments, new business?
Then I move that we adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're good. Okay. I'm going to call this special meeting to order of the Board of Equalization of Oklahoma County. Today is Monday, April 14th, 2025. It is 9:36. Notice of this meeting was posted properly on April the 9th. At this moment, we have 7 items on the agenda, and we have a full complement. Mr. Brett Town,
Present.
Ms. Teresa Sellers,
Present.
and I'm Eleanor Thompson. First item on the agenda is BOE number 79. And I think this person.
Yes, ready?
Yes.
Michelle. This one's at 40. What? This one's at 40.
The number you have dialed is not in service.
Okay.
Please check the number.
We need to wait. We need to talk. I'm sorry, 9:40.
9:40.
Yes.
Okay.
I got them.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Okay, I'm going to call this special meeting of the Oklahoma County Board of Equalization to order. Today is Monday, April 14th, 2025. It is 9:40 a.m. We have a full house. Mr. Brett Town,
Present.
Ms. Teresa Sellers, and I'm Eleanor Thompson. Before the board today, we have 7 items on the agenda. The first one is we're going to call the person, and then I'll give the rules. Hello?
Hello.
And this is Ms. Thompson, Chair of the Board of Equalization in Oklahoma County. Who's speaking, please?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your name?
Oh, sorry. Temujin Bustos.
Okay, Mr. Bustos, are you by yourself on the phone?
Actually, I am right now. I needed to merge in my agent. I just hung up with her because it's taken quite a while.
Okay,
Can I merge her in real quick? Is
sure.
that okay?
That'll be fine.
Okay.
Forward 32.
Forward 32.
For the mail for Swift users.
Okay, I'm sorry. She didn't answer. So hopefully she called me back and I can merge her back in that she called in.
All right.
Anyway.
Is this the first time you've appeared in front of the board?
No, ma'am. I did it last year, I believe, also.
Okay, so you know the drill. You get to tell us why you think the assessor has overly rated the value of your property, and then we'll hear from the assessor. We'll give you the last word, and we will make our decision on Thursday, and then we will
Okay.
notify you by mail of our decision.
Okay.
Okay,
But
go ahead. You trying again?
no, ma'am.
Okay. So this is a property on Northwest 34th in Oklahoma County, and the assessor has your property, I believe, valued at $204,500, and you would like to have us set the value at $197,500. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell me why you think the property is properly valued at $197,500.
So I've had this house for approximately 2 years, a little over. I bought it at 175. Actually, I bought it at 185, but I paid 10,000 over the appraised value, which was 175 that year, because I bought it fully furnished. So I paid $10,000 extra for the furniture. I've since learned that's a bad idea to wrap it in the sale price of the house, but I did not know that at the time. So anyway, I paid 10,000 over. So really, the house was valued and it appraised, in fact, at 175 just a couple of years ago. To go up all the way up over $200,000 is over a 40% increase in such a short time, which is extraordinary for that area. The houses that he's comping on are properties that are tree lined, brick houses, beautiful, 2-car garage, two-car driveways. Beautiful, upper middle class neighborhoods. My neighborhood is not like that. It's an older neighborhood that's single car garages. My property does not actually have a garage, which makes it even less value. Most cars are parked on the streets. The yards aren't as well taken care of. It's just not as a nicer neighborhood as the house that he's comping. And yes, he's giving me some devaluation for that, but it still doesn't comp out. I actually had the house listed. I tried to list it at, I believe, 210 originally, and I had it up for about 6 months. And then I had to keep lowering it, where I never even got one showing at 200,000 on the property, and I finally took it off and went back to a long-term rental. Hopefully, the value will come back up in a little bit, maybe another year or two, and I can sell it. But I can't even sell it for 200,000, let alone the price that he's saying. Of course, we have my agent that I was hoping would respond back to me here that could explain a little bit more professionally than I can, because she did a bunch of comps and sent them in showing the true valuation of this house, which, at 197, I could sell the house for 190. I could sell it for between 197 and 200. If I listed it at just under 200, I'd probably be able to sell it. But there's no way that house was worth 204.
Okay, let me get some clarification. Really, what year did you purchase?
I believe it was in 23.
It was April of 22, according to
Okay.
text
I'm sorry.
records.
Okay. April 22.
185,000, and then 10,000 you said you paid for furniture.
Yes.
And what rent do you receive?
Right now I'm getting 1,700.
$1,700 a month?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna hear from the assessor.
All right, so this property is 4508 Northwest 34th Street. We are near the intersections of Northwest 36th and North Meridian. 1,218 square feet. We have a fair quality. Original year built 1955. An effective year built of 2001 because of a near full remodel that was done in 22. It was purchased in April of 22 for $185 at $151.89 a square foot. The 25 value and notice of decision was $204,500. Mr. Bustos did not request a value during the informal appeal, at least not on the form. Last year's value was $204,500, which is the current value this year, but the board lowered it last year to $201,500. Mr. Bustos provided 4 comps. 2 of them we were not able to use because they were 25 sales. 2 that he did provide were used in the initial comp report, and he said that he did not approve of the comps and was going to send more, but throughout the 7-day deadline period, none were sent, so we had to close out the appeal. The median comps that were provided was a value of $209,430. The mean was $211,480. But other than that, that's all I have at this current moment.
Okay, Mr. Bustos, you get the last word.
Yeah, I respect your guys' time. I think you guys listened here today. And I appreciate the other gentleman's efforts. I know he's got his job to do. There's no hard feelings here at all between us. But I believe he's wrong. I asked him, would he please go walk my neighborhood and check the, and then drive the neighborhood that he's comping in again, and he'll see for himself that they don't comp at all. You wouldn't compare the neighborhood, period. And I don't believe the gentleman ever.
Okay, you cut out. Are you still there? Mr. Bustos? Hello? Okay, you cut out on us.
Being true comps to these properties.
Okay. All right. You guys got any questions? Okay, so I'm going to close out your hearing, and we will make our decision on Thursday, and you will receive notice by mail. And we thank you for your input.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye. Yes, we're going to close BOE number 79, and the second item on the agenda is BOE number 81, Draw Farms, account number R14163,000. I'm sorry, 633. address of this property is 9200 North Sooner Road. What's your name?
I am Wyatt Swinford, counsel for Draw Farms.
Ryan Swinford.
Wyatt, W-Y-A-T-T.
Oh, okay, Swinford.
Yes.
All right, okay, see. You kind of heard me go through that with the other guy.
Yes.
Okay, so the assessor has this value, $6,649,000. You want, I'm not sure, because I see $4,504,000 and I see $5,005,000 on your paperwork.
That's correct.
Okay, so last year it was valued at $6,111,000, and I have that. That's about an 8.9% increase. So, what are you asking? Are you asking 4504 or 55?
Yes, ma'am. 4504.
You are asking 45.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm happy to explain that, the value in the informal.
Oh, sure.
Just whenever you'd like.
Just go. You're ready.
Sounds good. Okay. All right. Well, this property has been protested each of the last 3 years, including last year as well.
Okay.
The client, given the amount it issued, decided it wasn't worth pursuing into the court system.
Sure.
And so, understand there's reasons for that, but they have protested each year.
Okay.
My client did purchase the property in August of 2022 for $5.5 million. If you look at I don't know if it's even in the doc stamp or not, but part of the reason for the protest the last couple of years is that there was a lot of personal property included in the sale. Now, this is not just furniture. This is tractors, implements, brush hogs, things like that. All of that information was provided to the Board of Equalization back in 2023. The Assessor's Office is fully aware of it. We itemized that information out. And so the $5.5 million value in 22 is kind of the baseline of the sales price on this property. It has increased.
Which you'd like to back out the value of personal property.
Well, I think we'll get into more of it. I think the real issue, the critical issue, is this property's on 50 acres.
Yeah.
It is a very nice, it's 14,000 square feet.
We know where it is.
Right. And so it is a very nice home.
Yes.
Not in here saying that at all. I think
Right.
the disconnect here is it's on 50 acres.
Yes.
And what's happening is you've got an already improved parcel that's not going to change. I can't imagine anyone demolishing a 14,000 square foot house. I guess it could happen, but the disconnect is on the acreage size. And I think that's most of the issue.
Because I was looking up and there's a contiguous, it's across the road.
Jason.
Valuation of an acre is fairly low. Is there a separation here out with the land value versus the
The
house
land
value?
value on this one is over $2 million.
I don't want him to count. So out of the 45,
Yes.
you're not saying that the house is worth $2 million and the land is worth $2 million.
No, ma'am. Maybe my exhibit would help make this a little clearer.
This is something you
Yes,
gave that.
this is the same matrix. Okay, so I'll just kind of walk you through what we have here. I think you may have a shrunk down version of that, but very top row we've got the subject property, 9200 North Sooner Road parcel. You see all the information, and on the far right side, the sales price information from 2022. You have historical values. At the very bottom, where there's kind of two tables.
Yes.
One says new sales comps.
Yes.
At the bottom of that, the total fair cash value implied is the $4.504 million. That is the basis of our valuation here. And so on the home itself, $3.825 million is what we say the value of the structure is. For the land, we say $678,000, which is roughly $13,500 an acre. I'll walk you through kind of our analysis here. First, we looked at some of the assessor's comps from the last several years that had been provided by the assessor's office. That's in the little orange section. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is the new one that was added by the assessor's office this year. I believe they dropped off number 3 from their analysis.
Mill Hollow.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that's right. But in any event, these were 4 comps that have been provided in the last couple of years. The date of the last sales on those, you can see those over on the far right. They're a little aged. right? And so the most recent one is the Deep Fork Circle, number 4. You can take a look at that one. It sold in November of 24 for about $299 a square foot. It is on a 5-acre parcel. So this one is, as I said, 50. Looking at these from an equity standpoint and what those properties are valued for, the assessor's comps are valued on the structure at $324 a square foot. Our property is $368. So there's a bit of a difference in the two of those. Now, again, these were comps selected by the assessor's office. The land value currently on subject property is assessed at $28,000 a square foot. The 3201 Hefner Road property, I think, is probably one of the most comparable properties here. If you look at it, it's on 11 acres. Yes, it is a little smaller, but that is not an insignificant acreage.
Right.
The assessor's office is just a little under 11,000 an acre on that. We're at 28,000 an acre on our assessment. So you can start to see kind of the differentiation. So what did we do? We went to go check our own work. So we started with the structure. It's hard to find comps on a 14,000 square foot house in Oklahoma City. Probably, I think the best place to find them, and it was in Gallardi. And so we went and looked and tried to isolate the value, the dollar per square of those properties, and what are they selling for? What are they valued for? There were some fairly recent ones, all within 2 within 2024, 1 within 2023. Those are 4, 5, and 6. The square footage and the adjusted prices are those over on the far right hand side. What we did remove the lot value from those, and how I did that was I just took the same proportion that the assessor's office did. So if the assessor's office had, let's take the first one, that 14200, I just used the same proportion in the assessment between the land value and the structure value, and applied that to the sales price to differentiate the lot price and the structure price. And in looking at some of these newer comps, which are within a year or year and a half from the subject,
Your 4, 5, and 6.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
4, 5, and 6. They indicate roughly $268.50 a square, which is $100 less than where the structure is on the subject property. Again, I think a lot of the disconnect is in the land, but there is some difference in the value too. These Gallardia homes, they're very, very nice. The first one, if you look at that, it's virtually the exact same size. The other ones are a little smaller, but they're still within that, I don't know what you call it. I'd say way too big range. That's what I would say, right? They're just way too much house. And I get that they have their own market. So that's on the structure side. I've carried that down into the table at the bottom on the right-hand side of the new sales comp. So you can kind of follow that through. We used $265.50 a square for $3.8 million on the structure. All right, now the land. What I did was we looked for comps within as close as we could find them, but within the 2 townships next door. So one of these is in the same township. This property is in the south side of Oakdale School District. So it is in the Oakdale area. There were several there and just a little bit to the south of that. So I think that the comps we pulled out were very recent. All of the ones we used were from 2024, and then one after the first of the year. Understand that under the Bliss Hotel case by the Supreme Court, a sale after the subject, if it confirms a trend, can be used and considered. So I understand I do have one that's after the first year, but it is relatively consistent, and I don't think it weights things too terribly high. But looking at the land comps we pulled out, we found them all the way from January of this year back to April of 2023. We selected the first 4 that I've listed there and did a weighted average to determine 13,500 per acre. And so that is what we used in our valuation on the right-hand side of the bottom. Talking a little bit about these comps, and I think maybe the one to pay the most attention to is the one at 6001 Acorn Drive.
Yes.
That property abuts this property, my property, and so that we have. And so if you look at that one, it sold in July of last year for $19,000 an acre, right?
Yes.
And so I think you can kind of see how things are, lined up. Now that property was 10 acres. It's a little bit smaller. The one I have above that in section 6, 12 north, 2 west, 24,000, so a little bit more. That was a 65-acre parcel, and then there was one that's just a little over 100 to the north of that at 8,200 acre. And so I think we can see. I definitely know in my own personal experience, land values rocketed up in that 22 and 23 range. It's really kept me from buying a place. But things have started to soften. And I think if you look at these comps and the sales, you're starting to see some of that, certainly on the land values.
Are any of your land comps agriculture?
Yeah, some of these were used, for ag land. If you take a look at the assessor values column, if you see a very low value, so like the very first two, those would have been very low because they were ag land. The Acorn Drive one is not. It does have a 4,000 square foot home on it. And so, which the Acorn Drive property is valued, on structure at $218 a square.
Okay.
And then 227 if you looked at the sale. So there's this is a big property. It's hard to find the right market for it, but I think if you isolate the attributes, the size of the property, the quality of that, and I think Gaillardy is perfectly comparable on the structure itself to this one, and I think it should be at least in the range. It's above most of where those are valued, and it's certainly above where they're selling it in Gaillardy. Oakdale's a great neighborhood. 50 acres is nice, but I think one and the other. I think they're comparable.
So the land use and the improvements made on your property sort of above the ones across the road, right?
I'm sorry.
The land use and the way that you improve the property, yours really can't compare to the one across the road.
The adjacent property,
Yeah.
the 10 acres. No, I would say they're comparable. I
You
mean,
think
these
they're
are
comparable?
these are I would call them ranch lots essentially.
Okay.
I mean, that's part of the reason for all that personal property.
Right.
Is he's mowing and haying part of this too. So we've not come in and asked for an ag valuation on the acreage. Right. I think we're trying to be reasonable. The difference in the value asserted at the informal level, we had, after the protest, the assessor's office, we had worked out and got it back down to the 2022 sales price. Right. We couldn't get any, that 5.5 million.
Right.
We couldn't get any adjustment. And so we think, based on the raw data, whether you look at the equity comps or the sales comps, we're way below that. And so that's really an offer of compromise at the informal level. And maybe it will be, going forward. But we think truly, looking at the sales, 4.5 million, just treating this property like the other ones are being valued by the assessor's office, 4.8 million.
So but you want us to value for lower than what you paid because you really mapped out the cost of the personal property. Right?
If you look, back in 22, right? So the sales price for the structure he paid, if you adjust it the same way, paid 304.
Oh, I see.
Okay. And so, I mean, we're $64 a square above that.
So you're saying that there was basically $1 million in personal property in that contract?
Yes, and I have a copy.
That's pretty good furniture.
I have to show the board. This information was presented to the board in 2023 as part of the deal. And it did include some sculptures, about 155,000 sculptures. But here I just have a copy. I only brought one with me.
I had a question on the sales contract. How was it listed? Was it listed, here's the property and here's the personal property? Was it split out, or was it just saying this is the sale?
Back in 22.
Uh-huh.
I don't know fully the details. I believe that as part of the negotiations when they were under contract was to include the personal property, and then that adjusted the sales price up from that. Which I understand the assessor's office is seeing that sales price, but I mean, sometimes there's more to a sale than there appears.
Okay, let's hear from the assessor.
Right, so the original sale for 2022 equipment dock stamps was $6,300,000. In 2022, they did provide pictures for the personal property, but we never have record of the actual itemized value of the personal property. So from what I understand, we took his word for it, the year of, adjusted him down there, but we never, and we asked him for the itemized list of personal property so that we could account for it in the future, but we never got it. At least we don't have record of it. From the comps, we could defend a median value of $7,894,000 from our original analysis during the informal. He provided this sheet, which was very comprehensive. He saying that these comps were not the best. He provided this 14,200 Guardia Lane right here, which I think is pretty comparable. Now the square footage on this one is reported wrong. I think he included the basement. The GLA is actually 12,503
Instead of 14,436.
Yes, but all of that taken into account, I think that's still a pretty good comp at 5.65 million.
Well, before you finish with his,
Mhm.
go back up to yours and tell me how close to the subject property your comps.
But they're 2.26 miles for the 3201 East Hefner, 7.38 miles for the 308 Deep Fork, 5.05 miles for the 1800 Catalina. Is there one more? Those only three. Okay.
You don't have any quarrel with going all the way to Gaylordia for a comp.
I'm sorry?
You don't quarrel with his going to Gaylordia for a comp?
No.
Okay.
Not in this case. This is a unicorn, in my opinion.
Well, the land,
Yeah, we're just not able to do an analysis on this system because it's part of a different one.
okay.
But I don't have a problem with him using it.
Okay.
What did you say the proper square footage was on that 14,200 Guardia? Did you say there was a discrepancy?
Yes, we have 12,503 in GLA. That 14,436. I think they included the basement. Yeah, and we don't do that, or we didn't do that. So I think that's a pretty good comp. When we go to the land, currently we have the land assessed at 28,000 an acre. Right. Yes, 28,000 an acre. I was really eyeing this figure at the top right for their land price per acre at 23,216. So if we take this comp at 5,650,000, right, which has 47 less acreage than the subject, we multiply 47 times 23,000, that add that to the 5,650,000, then I'm getting a figure of 6,731,000. The subject is currently valued at 6,649,000, so I think that supports the value as well.
Great.
Is there a reason why you didn't like the other two Guardia comps?
They're fine comps. I just think that the 14,200 is the most comparable because of it's closer in square footage. The other two are a bit smaller, especially that third.
And those, the taxpayer didn't have adjustments like you would make.
Right, but I didn't really make any strong adjustments to my calculations to arrive at the 6,731,000. So I just took that sales price, and then they're both excellent quality. They're both 4 years apart in year built, so I felt like that was a good comp, and I just added to the land, just tried to adjust for the land size difference at 23,000 an acre.
You're at 23, not 28.
Yes, yeah, I did 23,000 because that's what he had said right here for the sale adjusted land price per acre, top right corner of the spreadsheet.
You won't go up at all from your request. You don't come down at all. No.
I mean, as a compromise position, I would think my client would like what we asked for the informal, but understanding that
that was the 5.5.
Yeah, there's no movement, no really willingness to make any movement, and so this one will proceed.
Okay.
So I'd like to get it worked out for him, but I don't know if there's a couple things I could address on some of that if
Sure.
he's finished. Yeah. So on the personal, I didn't handle the first 2 years of protest. The client did that himself. I mean, there is a personal property list in the record from that year. So I don't know. Maybe we need. And they didn't ask.
Could we have that information?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And we talked about it in the informal, but didn't appear to me that that was missing or anything. So I would have been glad to provide that issue. Okay, on the Gaillardia 14200, we looked at the listing for that property, and that was listed at 14,403. And so that's why we use that. I understand the assessor's office is using something different on it for a basement, but that's the sale, right? And that's what was being purchased. And so we felt like that's what we should go with. On the 23,000 an acre that was paid in August of 22, yeah, that would have been the allocated sales price. Again, we used the same proportion as the assessor's office. It wasn't broken out in the sale, but that's what we used. Again, that's 2022, so we're several years from that. And the softening that we've seen in the land values is really, again, it's kind of what it comes back down to.
But in 22 and in 23 and 24, it still increased to about 25% during those 2 years before it starts softening maybe this year.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers, you can see a trend line in those sales.
Yeah, I mean, it's up and then it's starting to go
Yeah,
a little bit. It hadn't retreated 26 or 27% from the 22 year.
from here. I mean, I think so. If you're looking at these sales prices, I mean, I think it's.
I'm just talking land. It's
Well,
just
right.
starting to.
Well, but on the land, no, I think if you look at these sales comps that we're pulling out there, I mean, there's some variation, right? There can be, but I do think it is headed that direction. I mean, I think something around 15,000 an acre is probably what would be appropriate, somewhere on this. And I think the sales we've seen, they're at 13.5. So, so I think using the 2022. And we've allocated it ourselves. This was not in the contract. This is just to try to give everybody apples and apples. I think that's, it's too dated. The other thing,
Wait a minute, it's
I did have a question on the personal property. There's a $250,000 land adjustment. What is that for?
I don't know. I don't know if there was some acreage differential or something like that. I'm not sure. I can find out. And that really didn't come up from the assessor's office. I thought we were working from the same kind of understanding that, look, this thing transacted at 5.5. And so that kind of the final thing, looking at the assessor's comps, 1, 2, and then I guess they pulled 3, so 4. If you look at,
I'm going to interrupt you.
sure.
I want you to correct me if I misstate this. He says that you're operating from the 5.5. I understood that you guys never got what you asked for on the personal property list.
Only pictures.
So you're not operating from the 5.5. You're operating from the 6.3.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead. In his mind, I just want to.
Yeah, I guess the problem with that is after protest of every year,
Yes.
it's been pulled back down to that. So
They pull back down to.
in 23 was pulled down to the 5.5. They did protest in 24 and didn't take it further.
It was not 6.11 in 24,
It was, and they protested.
and they didn't come down.
They didn't take it in court.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the assessor office wouldn't come down. So
Okay.
again, I don't think it's fair to hold that against the taxpayer.
No.
But in terms of not getting it again, I mean, it's in the record. And, yeah. So anyways, on the sales comps that were provided by the assessor's office, if you look at the adjustments, they didn't pull it up and show it to us, but yeah, scroll down to the bottom. I mean, they're throwing numbers that are over $500 a square foot through their adjustments. They don't believe that. Nobody's buying that. And if you analyze this sale grid, the problem is in the land square footage. And that's where the numbers are being blown out. And so again, I think it's critical here. The land is causing the issue. So I would ask for the 4.5. We think that's really what it's worth. We think the analysis here is good. It's supported by competent sales.
But you won't scream at the 5.5.
I would strongly tell my client to just let it be.
All right, I'm gonna,
Thank you.
I'm gonna close the hearing on, BOE. Thank you for coming in. And you heard me say that by mail, you would receive our decision that we're gonna make on Thursday.
I have one question on
Yeah.
that. Are you guys going to deliberate on Thursday about the case?
Yes,
Okay. Will that be in the open meeting?
yes.
Okay. Will the assessor's office be participating in that?
Nobody participates. You can view.
Sounds
Come in person or you can be online.
sounds good.
And it's online.
I got to explain all this to my client. And so
And he can watch online.
The assessor's office will be in here just to access
Sure.
information if we need it.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, the next item on the agenda is BOE number 84, Doyle Ragsdale, 8949 Northeast 52nd. Spencer, we call him? No, you're here. We're doing fine. So you've been sat through too, so you know how we're doing this.
Yes.
You get the first say and the last say. As I understand my notes, the assessor has valued your property at $137,500. This is resident number 19907-1267. You would like us to set the valuation at $119,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll hear from you.
And I do.
Sure.
He may, I think he left his information
I
at
did
his
leave
house
mine.
in Stigler, so
I've
the assessor's office may need to provide him his
left all my
information.
paperwork at home. And I had
Okay.
surgery Friday, but it ain't nothing.
All right.
I'm not gonna use that for excuse, but anyhow,
Okay.
I really want to postpone this thing, and I didn't think I could do it this early. Then when I called this morning, anyhow, I'm here. So, I had a friend of mine. She works with Century 21. I had her to do appraisal on the house, and I had some paperwork on that. But anyhow, she appraised the house at 116 to 123. Okay, that's the market value on the home. What she says, by Century 21. And that's the reason I come up with the 119. And one other issue I've got with the property is this. When I redone the home, my house is a 1959 structure, okay? And they're telling me the work that I've done on it is 75% new, okay? All of the structure, total construction, the roof, all of the electric except for about 10%, all the ductwork that was in it, all this was still in the home, okay?
You did not replace.
I did not replace none of that. They're saying I've got a 75% new home, and they moved the home up to a 2002 model. That's totally wrong. I mean, anybody, and the contractor that I hired, he told me that he could do it in 20 days. In 18 and a half days, he was done with his work. Now, you tell me how you can build a 75% new home in 18 and a half days. I want to see it. My home is not 75% new. The things that I've done to it are nothing but cosmetics. I mean, when you put new siding on and new windows and new doors and new sheetrock and new flooring, I mean, it's not a 75% new home.
That's
Your
very
structure is 60% of your home. If you don't have a structure, you don't have no siding, you don't have no doors, and you don't have no windows because it will fall out.
What'd you pay for this?
I paid $1,000 for the home.
Oh,
Yeah.
and do you live in it or
No,
rent
our full-time home is in Stigler, and we come back up here to spoil the grandkids and go back home.
I've seen you
Have you been up here?
before.
You've been
I've
here.
been here,
Yeah,
I was here,
when you said that.
I was here in 23.
Okay.
I sure was.
I remember that. They're coming
Yeah.
to see the grandkids. Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. And, I'm just, like I said in 23, I don't have a problem paying fair market value, but I mean, the housing market, and I don't understand. I want to ask this question because I called and I talked to the gentleman. He told me that couldn't apply. And I have a home
at 8929 on 52nd, right down the street, okay? And it's 900, I don't remember the square, I have my paperwork, 930 some square foot with a 24 by 24 external garage. And it just sold for $153,500. But he said because it was a estate sale that they can't use them numbers. I mean, why can't we use them numbers? I mean, it's a sale of a home.
But generally, if it's not, if you get it less than, or it's not an arm's length transaction. But how big is that house that you said was 153 as opposed to the square footage?
It's 900.
And what is yours?
850. And it has a 2-car external garage. I don't have a garage or nothing. And all the comps that they sent out on this home was either rock, brick, and I had a couple of them. There was a couple of them that wasn't, but I'm almost sure every one of them had garages. I don't have garages. I mean, in the square, and I understand they adjusted, but I don't feel like they adjusted enough. Whenever you got a house and you're comping an 850 square foot house with a house that's 1,050 square foot, they don't drop it enough. I mean, there's different values there in each size homes. Most people don't. If they're going to live in a home all the time, they don't live in an 850 square foot home.
So are you okay? Because I remember that there was a medical issue. I'm now remembering you.
I'm fighting cancer like you is.
Oh, okay. I remember. Okay.
That's what I had done Friday, and it was a lot worse than what it was supposed to be. And it's been a rough weekend.
Sorry.
But I'll get through it.
Okay. Let me hear from the assessor and talk about your cars. Okay.
All right, we are located off of Northeast 50th and North Douglas.
Okay.
840 square feet is what we've got for the property. Fair quality. It still has an original year built of 1959. It has an effective year built of 2006 because it did have a full 22 remodel of the property. Because the home was in really bad shape at one time, like it was pretty much gutted. So anytime a property is gutted and it's brought back from that to what it is now, that is effectively a full remodel. The current value and as of right now at $137,500, which is $163.69 a square foot. Mr. Ragsdale did not put down a requested value during the informal. Last year's value was $129,000, and then the 2023 value was $125,500 initially, before we lowered it to $111,800 before the board settled on $95,900. The comps we use were 3 miles away, so it's kind of hard to find comps that are, that close to the property that are comparable. It was a median value of $148,241 with a mean of $150,875. I'm sorry, there was 2 comps that were provided in the report. The first one was the 3 miles away, and we did use some neighborhood comps, and those came out to be $148,358, and the mean was $151,870.
Those were the comps that were provided by the homeowner.
No, we provided 2 comps. One that was,
That's comps.
3 miles out, and then one that was in the neighborhood.
And you had higher medians and means on that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's stick with the order. So you're under both of them. At the one.
Right, they're both
137. Okay, let's deal with the percentage increase, Brett, because if I remember this one, and we lowered it
From
to
23
95.
when y'all went to 95, and now we're at 137 2 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, the house ain't went up that much. It just hasn't done it. The value of homes right now are dropping. We're in a slump. I mean, that's what the realtor told me. So, I mean, I'm going with what the realtor said.
And you didn't dispute last year. 24?
Huh?
Did you file up an appeal last year?
No, ma'am, I did not.
This is in the Crutcho Township, 4.44
Okay.
acreage increase year over year.
Is how much?
4.44 Crutcho.
Where? So what would that make?
Well, if we did 2 years, it would be like 10.13, close to that.
On top of the 95?
Yeah, at about 106, 7.
Okay, we give you the final word.
Can I ask a question on that? I didn't sign anything, but
Is she with you?
yeah,
That's my wife.
Oh, you can come up.
I just didn't really want to. Do they take into account the school systems the homes are in?
Yes and no.
No.
Like, 'cause
Okay, I say yes and no because obviously the sales prices of the homes are affected by the school district, so they don't just say, okay, because this is in the school district, we're gonna raise or lower it. That just kind of reflects itself in the sales
Okay,
price.
okay.
It's already baked in.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
just curious. I just wanted
How you doing?
I'm okay. Thank you. Just
Okay,
standing by this guy.
I
She's
know.
my left and right.
Okay, we're gonna decide on Thursday and we'll send you notice in writing.
Do you want to
So
say anything
you'll
else?
probably get it Saturday.
Okay.
And I think we had enough, even though you didn't bring your
Yeah, sorry.
your stuff.
That was my fault. I
We
didn't get everything
no,
together.
we understand.
So
Right,
that will go to the address,
the Stigler address?
particular address.
Yes, is
Send
that
it-
where you're are you here? Would you rather we do it?
Can you send it to that address?
We don't get mail with that address.
No, they'll give it to us.
Okay,
They'll give it to us.
Okay,
Or I can give a different address. I mean, I'm gonna be up here for a week or two. I'd like to know.
Right.
You know, or go back home.
okay.
Mhm.
Well, I tell you what we'll do, we'll send it to both.
Oh,
Okay,
We'll send it
that'll
to
work.
both.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very
be
much.
careful.
Thank
You guys
you
have a
very
great
much.
day.
Oh, sure. Okay, we're gonna close the hearing on BOE number 84 and go to the fourth item on the agenda, BOE number 80, which is 1221 North Warren Place. You guys, we've seen you guys before too. Yeah,
You all need to vote.
Huh?
Did you need to vote to close it?
no. Come on, John, you can come up. Okay, we've seen this couple before and I'll announce that I went to the U.S. Attorney's Office, she's paralegal in the U.S. Attorney's Office. Okay, so this is BOE number 80, resident number 117-791-395, 122 Northwest Warren Place. The assessor has this valued at $126,500, and the resident owner would like to have us value this at $109,695. So we'll hear from you.
Yes, basically, we filed a memorandum brief. I'm gonna rely on it, and I won't go through all the brief again and bore you with that. My situation is this. It is my position that the assessor's office is restricted by the constitutional state question 758 to 3% where you have a homestead exemption, and that's it. They've come up with 20,000 at one year. We got like a 34,000 increase. No particular reason. We went to object to it. They agreed with me. I said I agreed to go to 100,000. That was why I recommended it at that time because we had built a new carport. It wasn't within the preceding year by the statute. It was probably about a year and a half. They accepted 100,000. I believe that was in 22. Then they started back again with a new raise in 23. The statute that I'm referring to is Title 10, 8D. basically, the lead-in question, I think answers the whole question. Despite any provision to the contrary, the fair cash value of a parcel located, and it goes on down, shall not exceed 3% on homestead exemption property, period, the end. The courts can't modify it, the legislature can't modify it, and the assessor surely cannot modify it. What they are trying to do is modify it, they cannot do this. Oklahoma has taken a strict interpretation of the Constitution and the rights granted under it, the same as California and Oregon. They may not like it, but they're stuck with it. I didn't write the amendment. I didn't pass the amendment, although as I recall, I did vote on the amendment. And I thought that it was protected, as I contend all the voters that voted on those lists thought the same thing. Where there's no discrepancy in the constitutional amendment, they are bound by the terms of that amendment. They may not like it. In California, they didn't like it. They objected to it. They took it to the United States Supreme Court. They lost 8-1. They said, oh no, this is a violation of due process. One property that was a homestead was much, much lower than a newly sold property. The constitutional amendment does not cover newly property or new transferred property. Those are not within the protections. My house is within the protections. They may not like it, but they're stuck with it.
Did we change it last year when you were here?
Yes, you did.
Tell me what we did. Because I remember
1065, as I recall.
It's what we lowered it to
Yes.
1065. Is that correct? 1065. Okay.
That's my basic petition. That based upon statutory interpretation.
Okay, so from the 1065, what would your 3% is how you arrive at the 109,695?
That's exactly how I arrived at it. That's the maximum that I say under the statute they can increase this to. They may not like it, but they're stuck with it.
Okay.
They don't have the authority to modify.
So you're not you don't quarrel with their comps or anything. You just say, you don't even have to look at comps. You just
Yes. Now
3%.
the gentleman that was sitting right here in the next
Yes.
seat is the one that we presented the protest to.
Yes.
Very pleasant. He took the position that, well, I'm not an attorney. I can't construe that. He is an assessor and a deputy assessor. I don't know if assessors have to swear to uphold the Constitution of Oklahoma. I know they have to swear to uphold the laws, and this is an amendment of the Constitution, which is an amendment of the laws. He may not like it. He's stuck with it. As long as it was the four comps he came up with were sales, which I wanted to verify that. He did not know if they'd been remodeled. He did not know if they had any damage to it. He did not know if they had termite damage. He didn't know anything about that. He just came up with a number, says what I have done. I've arrived at these comps, and then I've deducted what I think is the amount of damage you've got, and here's the figure I come up with. He just picked an arbitrary figure and went on.
Well, I don't think it was arbitrary. I think it was based on
based on, in my sense, it was arbitrary in that it did not follow the law.
It
did not follow the Constitution.
Let me hear from them.
Eleanor, can I?
Sure.
So basically, you're saying that values can only increase 3% a year from the assessor, or 5% if they don't have homestead.
Exactly, if they got the homestead exemption.
Is that for the purposes of the fair market value, or is that for the purposes of taxation you're talking about?
It's fair market value. They cannot increase the fair market value of 3%.
I think it's taxable. It's what affects your taxes, which is a separate valuation over fair market value.
I don't think they can do that. If the legislature can't do that, and the courts can't do that, I don't think the assessor can. The statute is clear. It's not ambiguous at all.
Let's hear from that.
Okay. No, I was going to say, so Mr. Euler is located he's on 1228 North Warren Place, 1,118 square feet. We have it at fair quality. Year built of 1958. That's currently the year built. Nothing's been remodeled on the property. We are off the major intersections of Northwest 10th and North Meridian. It was purchased in November of 2008 for $55,000 and an invalid sale. It was a share sale. We do currently have negative 20% adjustments for condition issues. These were brought up a couple of years ago.
Yes.
During when it was brought up back in 23 when we had the value at 134,000 and we lowered it to 100,000 because of termite issues. So those condition issues are still intact and those adjustments are still there.
Okay.
So we could have the property on for a lot more if it wasn't for the condition issues.
Okay.
There is nothing in the statutes in regards to how much market value can go up, as we all know that. The 3% and 5% cap is, as we all know, is based on taxable value. We all know that market values are road numbers. Those numbers can be whatever they want based on market trend sales that are taking place in the area. But with a 3%, 5% cap is only taxable value related.
Okay, would you give me the history of the prior years in his coming here? Because I think this is their third time actually.
Yeah, the 24 value was, the initial value was 123,000 before the board lowered it to 106,500. The 23 value was 134,000 before we lowered it to 100,000 for the condition issues for the termites. In 22, we had the value at 96,157, and then in 21, 96,157.
Okay, so we have a legal interpretation question here and not the value of how they made their adjustment. I will tell you that I have operated under the assumption that the restriction that was put in was to save people from an increase in their taxes, not the valuation of their homes. So you have a fair market value, which is only relevant to sales. Then you have a taxable value, which is relevant to the assessment that gets put on your house and the taxes that are required. And the fluctuation is limited by the constitutional restriction of the 3%. So that is how we operate off of that. There may be other reasons why we would make a lowering, which this board has in the past. That is not why we made the lowering. And we will take our same things into consideration this year. Yes.
May I make a reference to something?
Sure.
Mr. Euler, I just kind of want to let you know real quick. When we send these notices out in the mail for values of increase.
I'm sorry, you.
Okay, he can hear.
I'm sorry, I haven't got it.
When we send out the notice of values of increase in the mail,
Yes.
there's an explanation as to what the 3% and the 5% is. And that is based on the taxable fair cash value right here, where it states increases shall not exceed 3% for homestead and or ag land, 5% for all others, unless title to the property is transferred, changed, conveyed during the preceding calendar year, or improvements were made to the property. That's where the 3% and 5% comes into
Okay,
play.
in case you did not hear him, what he said is, when they send you your notice, there in red it says, this is not a tax bill, do not send money. The second item down there references the statute that you referenced, and it says specifically, taxable value shall not be increased. It's right there.
I disagree with that totally. And I also disagree with his statement that the board made an adjustment to the 100,000. I went in to talk with them to object to it, and they agreed to 100,000. The assessor did on that particular year.
That you okay, but we okay.
Ma'am.
Nonetheless, he's accurate in the lowering, whether we did it or whether they did it.
Yes, I do take a question to this. The entire statutory construction and the constitutional construction
Sure.
Depends upon what was put in the proposition that went before the public. That is the entire statute, and the intent of that is a hard line, fast decision. California's ruled on it, Oregon's ruled on it.
Let me just stop you. This board operates off of the premise that it is limited to the taxable value. The argument that you're making, you may have to make that to a court.
I understand that, and it may be time to do that.
Okay.
I'm convinced of my position.
Okay.
And I'm convinced that Oklahoma Supreme Court, based upon their prior decisions, will follow California and Oregon.
Sure.
I don't think the assessor will like it if I'm right.
Sure. Okay. Okay, we understand. So we'll make.
They did agree that these were for sales, and under this particular section, sales are exempt from this.
Okay. So the three of us will make a decision on Thursday, and we will send you notice of it in writing. Sure. Sure.
But there again, we're relying basically on
Sure.
that point and all that.
Okay.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Appreciate the consideration.
Sure. Okay. Close the hearing on the BOE number 80. Is that correct? Which is
55.
yeah, it was 80. And now we're going to go to Mr. Hayes, who has the last three. The first one's going to be 55. Since we gave up on it, I forgot about it. Hi, Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Hi, this is Miss Thompson. How are you?
Hi, Miss Thompson. This name sounds familiar. This voice name sounds familiar.
Okay, how you doing?
I've been better, but I'm still here, and I'm happy to have life and all that goes with it.
Okay, we're doing great.
How's everybody doing out there?
We're doing fine. We have three items with you. We're going to take them up separately. I think you know the drill. We're going to let you say why you think the assessor is incorrect in his assessment of the valuation of your property. We're going to take them one at a time, and then we'll hear from the assessor. Then we'll give you the last word. And this week, we are meeting on Thursday to make our decisions. And so probably Saturday, you'll get, wherever the decision goes, you'll probably get notice of it, Saturday or Monday. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is BOE number 55, 1933 Northwest 176th Street, residential number 2024 31310. Okay, let me do it again. This is 2024 31310.
Okay. Let me see. So we have three.
Yes. This one's on Northwest 176, and the assessor has it at 299,000, and you want it at 281,700.
Okay. Yes. So you guys actually went down on it last year, correct? What was the value last year?
Yes.
It was 284,500 from last year.
And you guys went to 2,000. Yeah, I do see we overpaid for the property back in 2022.
What'd you pay? Where did you pay?
We bought it for 307,428. We did provide 6 sales with an average, say about 148 to 149
per square foot.
Per square feet for compared to the subject property. Subject property is 2,065 square feet. We really don't have it. I don't know.
Did you guys have similar comps? Some of the comps were the same?
Well, I'm looking at one of the main sales, number 2. We have sold in the middle of the year harvest. A little bit small, about 100 square foot smaller this same year. $144.28, so $282. The market is not surging right now, so I guess that might have been where they get that 281 from. Also, you have the 1926, so 277, and the 1979, but it is a little older, so 288. So I wouldn't be at 281. I'd be more like 285. I think the value is a little bit too high.
Okay, go ahead.
Based off 245.
Wait, so are you sliding on me, or what value would you like for us to set?
285.
285.
Yeah, I won't always agree with those numbers exactly. Generate.
Okay, we're here from the assessor.
1933 Northwest 176th Street was located off Northwest 178th in North Penn. The square footage on the subject is 2,065 square feet. The comp report that we ran did in fact include some of their comps. Our comp 2 is their comp 2. Our comp 1 is their comp 5. There's a lot of sales in this neighborhood. A lot more than some of the others. But with that being said, the difference between what we used versus what was provided was the adjustment part of it. There were just more adjustments that had to be made to theirs than ours, because I did look at both to make sure we're in line. The dollar amounts were more on the adjustments on theirs. So with the 6 comp report we ran, all were 24 sales. Median was 299,791, and a mean of 301,271.
What was your square footage, or price per square foot?
2065.
Price per square foot.
Oh, price.
Just
Sorry.
I found
140. Yeah, 140.
It's 176
That property was
north of
144.
Meridian.
Yeah, subject is 144.79. Yes.
So where's 176 in relationship to Memorial? One out.
This is on Penn between 178. I always go with the Edmond Streets between 2nd and 15th, right across from Westfield Elementary. It's Copper Creek.
Okay.
Yes. Did Mr. Hayes say his comps were at 148, 149 square feet?
Right.
So this is actually less per square foot.
Yes. Okay. And I think he's already said it, but 24's value was 284,500.
Is this a rental, Mr. Hayes? And do you know what the rent is?
Yes, most of our properties are that we do a rental.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps us. I heard in some states it helps, some states it hurts.
Okay. If there's nothing further, so you would say, let's see, you moved 285 and they're at 299, so you're $14,000 apart.
Well, I just wanted them to notice that even though a lot of we do have some that are the same, notice that since we last talked, the market is one lower. So I would hope you consider that the market is definitely decreasing.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to close BOE number 55 and open up BOE number 56, which is on Lakeside Circle, resident number 205 11580.
Hold on 1 second. I have to spell it. All right, so
Did you find it? The assessor assessed that, valued at 261,000, and you want 252,200. You're not that far apart.
yeah, we're not far apart on this. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, we provided 6 comps once again. Subject property 1,780 square feet. Have really 3 properties once again. Number 1, 3 and 4 is close, no more than 140 square feet. I would say number 1 is maybe an outlier, but it's pretty close. So beginning of the year last year. Number 3, 1845, looks like the close in square feet. It's a little bit higher, 285. The lot size is smaller, I didn't know. It's sold for the highest of 154 square foot. So I weigh heavily on the 1842. It's actually pretty much the closest. And notice it's sold for 247. So with 2 properties selling for the 240 range, just from same size, one a little bit higher at 62 square feet, one a bit lower, and one a little bit smaller, 77 square feet. So I think that value is right, and we did pay less at $233,000 when we bought it 2 years ago. So I think that 252, 200 is pretty fair price.
Okay, we'll hear from the assessor.
What is he asking for?
252,000. You're way below your mean and median.
Yep. I was making sure I heard it correctly.
Okay, so tell me where's Lakeside?
Yeah, so this is off of West Edmond and South Santa Fe Avenue. What neighborhood is this?
The Trails.
Trails, yeah.
Oh.
I meant to write that down. Square footage of the subject is 1,780 square feet. All 6, we ran a 6 comp report.
Okay.
All of those sales are in 24. We did have 1 common comp with the ones that were provided by Ryan.
Okay.
Our comp 2 is their comp 5. And that was the only one we used, just because, again, the adjustments that were made on the others were more than what we found. Our median was 277.98, and then the mean was 275.652. So we're actually below both of those, and honestly not even close to what he's on for. So we felt pretty good about leaving him on for the 261.
24 value.
24 value is 258,500.
Okay, you get the last word, Mr. Hayes.
Well, we do see that the sales so what I try to do is what I just did. I used 1 property, so the value sold lower. So with a higher, slightly higher square footage, and 1 lower.
Okay.
We're allowed to use sales. You can, like, say, sometimes we have a lot of sales, sometimes you have very few. Well, in this case, we provided 6. I pulled 3. I used 2, 1 higher, 1 lower. And I do believe that 252, 200 is a pretty good median value for that property.
Did you stay in the neighborhood with your comps?
I don't see. Did they? I apologize. I didn't even look at that. Did they go outside the neighborhood?
She stayed.
I think they stayed in.
0.27, yeah, they're all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they
Seven,
are.
five, and six.
5 and 6.
Still have the same.
Yeah.
Okay, you wanna move it all? You gonna move it all? You're only $9,000 apart, you wanna move it all?
I think we had this issue last time, so I did a little fussy. Remember, I think we had this issue last. They were going. I was very embarrassed. So I told them to not send me anything over a mile because I can do this myself.
Okay.
So we have, of course, we have a computer generated system that does this. And I told them, come on now, we can't get this computer to stay under a mile so far. And it couldn't cut a neighborhood, they shouldn't go over a mile. So yeah, I shouldn't have had to check it, but I just checked it. Yes, we're definitely, I think the number 6 is 0.89. Yeah, I told them to not go over a mile. It's going to come to.
Yeah, I will say whatever you said to them worked because the comps were much better than what you were providing last year.
I agree.
Oh yes, I have rant and raved. I said, listen, do not send me to battle with a knife. You know, not saying that we're battle. We're just, we're doing hearings, but let's make sense of what we're doing here. And the masses heard me. And I've been saying this for years, and it's finally starting to sink in.
Okay, so now you guys you're only $9,000 apart. You're not gonna move it all, Mr. Hayes? If they're well under their mean and median.
Well, so I'm looking at the concept of the sales that we provide. When you do these hearings, it's what they provide and what we provide. I try to stay closer. Their evidence is pretty good. My evidence is just the same. So it depends on how you look at it now.
Yes. I would say if we're going to look at the comps like that, there are adjustments that are not made on your comps that are made in ours.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask because the form that they provide with their comps looks very similar to yours, but it's not as big. It didn't have as many adjustments.
It's not as big, but another thing that I call as a red flag or notice that was different. If you look at the land part of it, or sometimes square footage, it just kind of depends. Go back up real quick to just theirs, then turn it. They don't make an adjustment if it's in X amount of square feet or an X amount of acreage. So there's a $0 adjustment for something that should. For instance, this works. So the lot right here, the subject is bigger than the comp 4 here, but there's a $0 adjustment. You technically should be making an increase on the comparable 4 to make it like the subject. So there's small things like that, but they do make a difference in the total of $1 adjustment value to it. Then that's just an example, but there's some on the square footage, and there's some also like for some reason they don't have a bath count, but they have it on the other ones. So I don't know why we don't have it on the subject, but we have it on the comps. So those are just small things, but those are things we do account for. So like Ms. Sellers said, they are similar. There's just some that don't have an adjustment.
Well, it's evidence with that comp 2, right? Because your comp 2 was his comp 2.
Correct.
Right, and your adjusted value came in at 260,486. His came in actually higher, 279,600, which is interesting.
So in doing these adjustments, from an appraisal standpoint, we're going off what? You can go and be meticulous on each and every property. We're doing a concept of what? Mass appraisal. So when you go in and you take each one, you meticulously go down, you're doing simple fee appraisal concept. We look at it, because this is a vast portfolio of homes, we do a concept of mass appraisal. You can take each property and meticulously break it down, of course, but you normally choose what? The location, the size of the lot, and the square footage. If you want to go in the bedroom, bathroom count, guess what? You're getting to the concept of doing what? Meticulously regular appraisal. We're doing mass appraisal. Mass appraisal, yes, you make adjustments, but the concept of adjusting is broken down to how you look at it from the scope of work. We're doing mass appraisal first. We're not doing meticulous appraisal for actual value. Am I right? Am I wrong? I've been saying this in this field for the longest. We can take each property. We can take a $7,000, 7,000 square foot property and adjust it to the 3,000. But under mass appraisal concepts for tax purposes, it makes no sense. I've said this in every state I've been to. So when you break down bathroom count, and bedroom count, you're not doing mass appraisal.
Yeah, but so Mr. Hayes, on that theory, you never make an adjustment?
Not for bathroom and bedroom, no.
Okay.
It's gonna be,
I think
we're looking at square footage, we're looking at lot size, we're looking at 2-story, 1-story, and location. So real estate starts with what? Location, location, location. Then we look at the lot size, right? We look at the land, then we look at an improvement, the building. That's mass appraisal. When you go to individual appraisal for value purposes, that's when you go. Listen, I know we put this, but I didn't dance with you guys as much as I should have.
No,
But I think
we're good.
I think that we're looking at it wrong. We're going mass appraisal, but then when we do it for value, that's where the county has the upper hand, because if you break it down, it's going to be more automatic because you're being more meticulous. You're taking out the concept of mass and you're making it individual. If you do individual, let's go ahead and do individual appraisal. Let's have mass appraisal each property. Mass appraisal was put in for tax purposes, amended by the use factor. I'm a former field appraiser.
Okay.
You cannot mix them both for your betterment. That's not fair to the property owner. I've been arguing this all over the country. It doesn't make sense. He's saying, "Oh, you didn't adjust."
Well, but you know, well, there were probably other things where you did not make an adjustment. So you are, and he mentioned the bathrooms, but I understand you. So you guys are not gonna, no one's moving. So I'm gonna close the hearing on 56 and go to the last one, which is BOE number 57, 7917 South Lynn Avenue, resident number. Here you go, Mr. Hayes. 143311015.
Hold on one second. I was on the last one. Okay. So this property was acquired 22, also 184.
184. Okay, so that assessor has this, well, you guys are really far apart. 256,500. And you are at 194.9. Okay, so let me hear from you, Mr. Hayes. Y'all are really far apart. So you bought it for 184. What year was that?
In 22.
It was a multi-parcel sale. That was what.
Okay.
Okay. So looking at this lot size, there's a variation of concept. The property is rather old, like 1968, 1858 square feet. All the properties are within a half mile of the property.
Okay.
I kind of want to weigh heavily on the late sale.
Okay.
Of course, I don't agree with the.
Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry, are you talking about the assessor's comps or your comps?
Our comps.
Your comps, okay.
Notice that we're kind of all over the place with the square footage from 121 to 87. So when you see that, you know, we didn't do the best job of pulling comps on this one.
So comp 3, you're saying you don't like?
Well, I'm kind of going over my concept of the comp. Just looking at the sale price, look at my number one. The land size is like 40% higher, so of course I throw that out. It is business. It is in close to the same neighborhood, being 0.20. But looking at the sale price, I'm pretty sure that the value is a little bit for the deal. And notice that the bedrooms is more. It's 4 bedrooms, but it's small. So that's what I'm saying. You can get into all the particulars, but we're looking at lot size, building concept, 2-story, split foyer, that kind of stuff, and we look at the square footage. I don't really look at the. It doesn't even show on item. It shows 0 stories. This is a 1 level up, 2 stories. I'm at 10 stories, 0.
1 story.
Yeah, I don't have a picture on my evidence. So it's a 1 story. It's a ramp.
Yeah, two car garage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking, number 4 and number 6. Number 6 is, it's the one with pretty much the closest land size. It sold for $175,000. And another season, number 4, sold close to the end of the season.
Of 24?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't really have the best comps on this, so I would lean toward number 1, which is a higher square footage. 110 square foot larger. The land size, do a slight adjustment for the land size because our property is bigger. I mean, it has the largest land. So I'll bid probably 230 on this one.
230. Okay. We're up to 230. So here from the assessor, you're at 256.5.
That is correct. The subject property is located off Southwest 74th and May. The reason it was difficult to find comps for this is because there is a remodel from back in 2018 that changes the effective age, as we stated before. So the comps that were provided by Ryan, if we were to put those in, they were heavily adjusted because they weren't accounted for the remodel.
Mm-hmm.
Comps 1 and 6 of Ryan's were actually invalid sales. They were one was a sheriff's sale, and then the other one was an estate sale, I believe it was. I did not write it down, but those were both invalid. So the report we had was a 6 comp report, all in 2024. The median is 256,034, and the mean was 261,073.
It's 261.
Yeah, 261,073. The 2024 value was 244,000. And I can't remember if I said it, the subject is 1,710 square feet.
Okay, so he's at 230 and then you're at 256. You're right at your median.
Yeah, 256,500.
Okay, so how many comps? And you tossed 2 of his, so he's got 4 valid comps?
Correct.
And did you make a calculation using just those 4?
No, because the adjustments on those were a lot because of the remodel. All of the comps that were provided by Ryan, they were much older and did not account for the remodel.
So the comps that you did were newer in age?
Yes.
That's what you're saying, so we'll just look at that.
Yeah.
So the subject property age,
Subject
40,
Yes, that is correct.
46, 50, 41.
There's 2 more.
Yeah.
There's 2 more.
You scroll down to that.
So my comps were older?
Yes. Yeah, they were 60 and 70. They were much older. So if you go off the year built, I can see where you're coming from. But we go off of effective year built, which is accounting for remodels that do take place on properties. Mm-hmm. The ones that were provided did not have a remodel. The ones we are providing most likely were remodeled just like the subject, based on the effective age, or effective year built, sorry, which is the effective age.
The exception would be comp 6 at 57 years.
That's correct.
This is neighborhoods just east of OCCC.
Yes, that is correct. Directly across.
Okay, you get the final word, Mr. Hayes.
I can't. I'm sorry, I can't see you guys' evidence, so I really can't compare the only thing by evidence.
They didn't send you the 6 comps?
No, they didn't. I guess the main concept is here with the update. You guys are laying have input that is valid, so I can't really fight on that one. I can't fight on something I know nothing about. So.
Okay, so are you gonna stick with your 230 or are you gonna concede?
Yeah,
you won't concede to their 256?
No.
Okay. All right, we're gonna close that out, Mr. Hazen. That'll do us for today. And our decision day this week is Thursday, not Friday. So we will be sending out a letter thereafter. Do you know how many more? I'm gonna close that out. Let me now ask you. Do you know how many more of these you have with us?
No, ma'am. I just get it on my schedule and I look at it and handle it. I can't.
Right now, we only have one more
Okay.
schedule.
Okay.
When is that?
The 20th, next Monday.
All right.
Okay. All righty. That'll do us for today with you, Mr. Hazen. We look forward to seeing you next Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
See you next week.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any other business? Okay. So we'll meet on Thursday for a decision day. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
And we have excise.
Thursday. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.